Now then, would you like to go and pull the next number off the board?
Are you talking about 5?
5 is a good number. This is the number of humanity.
Guess what it says?
What does it say?
Total change.
Total change. Thank you. Now, you can pull off the 5A and B as well.
Okay, here we go.
And what do we have here?
Well, it looks kind of like some cogs.
4 little gears.
And they're labeled A, B, C, and D.
Thank you.
The very first one has an arrow over it like it's turning.
Exactly. Thank you. You may sit. Now, again, we have described this before. The idea that every change is a total change. This starts to make very obvious sense, again, when you go back through to the beginning and use the science of the obvious, one thing leading to another. If everything is literally made out of one particle, then any time you exercise your consciousness on the matrix that is created by the particle that, in a sense, is you, then you will understand that any change you make must, by definition, change the path of that particle in some way, shape, or form. And if you change the path of that particle in some way, shape, or form, you have changed everything, everywhere, all at once. Just like all the little gears are all connected, you cannot turn the first gear without turning them all. It can't be done. So, every change you make, any change you make, what? Every change you make, any change you make, no matter how small, changes everything. What do we mean when we say changes everything? More literally, what we mean is every single possible configuration of every possible universe already exists in a static form. What you experience as a change is your consciousness shifting from one to the other in much the same way that you change channels on your television to go from one program to another. The idea is that every single multiple parallel reality is simply made up of a series of still shots, if you will. Again, we understand this is a crude analogy, but it will do. The idea is to understand that what you perceive as motion, even this motion, even this represents going through a multitude of infinite universes. Because this is a universe, that's 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 a universe. Makes you giddy, doesn't it? Literally, you are changing universes all the time, flickering through them with your consciousness at such an incredible, shall we say, rate of speed that you don't even realize you're doing it. You're doing it all the time. You're doing it right now. You've been doing it forever. You will keep on doing it. Therefore, what are the implications of this recognition? Everything is connected. Everything is one thing. When you change something, everything changes. By understanding that every change is a total change, miracles are possible. Anything goes. The degree to which you understand this concept means that in one moment of experience you can be completely one way, and in the next moment of experience you can be completely another way. Or, in one moment of experience you can be completely one way, in another moment of experience you can be a little bit different, in the next a little bit different, in the next a little bit different, in the next a little bit different, but even though you may be using the shift to make it appear as if you're simply being a little bit different, in fact, you're actually totally different, but using the total difference to make it only seem as if you're just a little bit different. The rate of change is simply you being willing to engineer a shift to a parallel reality universe that is as different as you prefer it to be without necessarily creating a series of successive steps. It's all how you define that shift. All how you define yourself in that next universe, so that you will only take yourself to the universe that holds that definition you hold of yourself. And that's what you will experience. So if you have a definition of change that says, I can only change a little bit, or it's difficult to change, or I can only change slowly, what you will then be doing is actually popping through completely different whole universes that are very similar to the one you left from. Or you can say, I am totally different, and you can shift to a universe that then is very, very different from the one you shifted from. It's really up to you, and it's really up to your belief systems and definitions as to exactly how you experience that rate of change, that rate of shifting. But all those realities all exist right now. It's up to you to change the channel. And you can go from channel 1 to channel 2 to channel 3 to channel 4 to channel 5, channel 6, channel 7, or you can simply go channel 1, channel 10. You can do that. And you can even go channel 1, channel 10, channel 2, channel 5, channel 1, channel 10, channel 9, channel 7, channel 8, channel 20, channel 30, channel 100, channel 1. You can do that too. And you do that all the time. Many times when you say, oh, I haven't been able to change, I haven't been able to make this change. Many times you actually have changed, but then you've simply changed back. That's all. So again, it's a matter of really understanding the concept of state of being, and when you're in a certain state of being, you really are in a different reality. You really are a different person. Please, 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 please take me literally. Please take me literally. This isn't a metaphor. This isn't a metaphor. You literally are a different person when you make any shift at all. Literally a different person. So, whatever you define, truly define that person to be, that's the total reality that exists as well. If you suddenly define yourself to be a person that has a very different behavior pattern than the other person you were a moment ago, or again, perhaps more precisely, if you define that your consciousness is now perceiving itself through the matrix of a different universal reality than it did a moment ago, that reality is a total reality with its own sense of history, its own sense of its own future, and it bears no relationship whatsoever to the other universe you were in, unless you have defined in that universe that it contains a similar component that makes it seem as if it has a similarity to the universe you were in. So again, if you feel that things are difficult to change, or they change more slowly than you would prefer, all you're simply doing is creating a new, whole, total universe that has a lot of similarity to the one you were just in. But you don't have to do that. If you do that, however, that might be a clue to you that you may have belief systems that says, I'm not comfortable going any faster than that, changing any more radically than that. Why not? And then it's up to you to explore your belief systems and your definitions to find out why the pace is what the pace is. Because it may actually serve you in a number of ways. Just because sometimes things change slowly doesn't mean that's a negative thing. You yourself may require that pace for a variety of positive reasons. So allow yourself to truly examine why things are happening in the way they are by first allowing yourself to know that whatever is happening is what needs to be happening, because it's a true reflection of your state of being at that moment. A true reflection. And when you get in touch with what it is a reflection of in terms of your beliefs and your definitions, then you will have far more conscious leeway and awareness to make the next change, define the next change in the way that you prefer to, or closer to what you prefer than you did before. And you may then feel yourself accelerating, things changing more rapidly, more synchronicity coming into your life, however it expresses itself. But the key is to understand that you already change totally every time you change, anytime you change. So it's not about having to learn to change. It's not about having to manipulate one little piece of the puzzle here and another little piece of the puzzle there. Every move you make changes everything, everywhere, every when. It's really up to you to simply determine what kind of total change you prefer, and to examine what it is within you that will allow you or not allow you to give yourself permission to experience that change. Now, this is why we have also called this idea the 13th step. We understand on your program, with respect to the concept of addiction, that there are such things as 12-step programs, and these are all well and good. We are in no way, shape, or form invalidating. We understand they help many people. We are also adding at the same time this concept of the 13th step, that when an individual, not someone fooling themselves, not someone pretending, but when an individual truly understands that every change is a total change. For example, someone with what you call an addiction, someone who chooses something again and again, they say they don't prefer, yet they are still motivated to choose it. That's an addict, no matter what it is. When you choose that over and over again without knowing why, in that sense, that's an addiction. The idea is that if you know every change is a total change, and you actually understand that when you change you become a completely different person, you are capable of defining that new person as someone who does not have an addiction and never did. That's why, if you actually use the 13th step when dealing with the concept of addiction, you will actually get to a place where you will be a person who doesn't even have the concept of having to worry about whether they will get the urge again to fall back into that pattern, because the point is if you're truly another person, you never had the pattern, you never had the addiction, and you will never feel the urge because it's not part of the makeup of your universe. Is that clear?
Yes.
Now, again, the degree of efficacy with which you use this concept is really up to you, and it may, when you begin to play with it, spark a process within you of getting in touch with the belief systems within you that may be connected to the idea of choices that might be read as addictions, so on and so forth. That's all right. The point is, if you start to work with this concept of ultimate change, total change, the 13th step, it will begin to allow you the freedom to understand. You do not have to fear. You do not have to fear that something can somehow reach out from the past and control you. That you are, in that sense, controlled by the things you were, and that you have no power against them. If you want to create that reality experience, you can. But remember, you're creating the experience of seeming to be powerless, and you're using your power to create it. So, there's the paradox. You need to understand that it's simply a matter of how you define yourself, and how you define yourself is what's going to determine where your power flows and in what way it manifests. It's as simple as that. So when you know every change is a total change, you can really start fresh, you can really start from scratch, you can really clean the slate and allow yourself the freedom, the permission, and the freedom to really know you are a new person with a completely new understanding and idea, and anything that was no longer is in that state for the you are right now. Make sense?
Yes.
All right? Simple physics, science of the obvious. That's all this is. That's all this is. Let it sink in. You don't have to get it all now. You don't have to get it all at once. As we said, every one of these ideas is a piece of a big picture, and the idea is to use them all holistically. And this is why we are stressing, shall we say, the idea, underscoring, shall we say, the idea of one leads to the other, the science of the obvious. If you know this, then you know that. Because when you have that foundation, when you have that spine, when you have that core, anytime you may find yourself getting a little bit confused, a little bit fuzzy on one particular concept or another, one particular tool or another, all you need to do is follow the spine all the way back to the beginning. Everything is one thing. It literally is just one thing. From that knowledge, from that knowing, go back down the spine in succession, clarifying on the way, making sure everything is based on the initial principle, and that will act as a clarifying mechanism for whatever it is you are dealing with at that moment. Does that make sense?